there's a ton of talking points. There's some interesting, like, inside basketball. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are not really guards, so they don't know how to manipulate a zone. Like, we can do the higher level sports conversation. We can do the hot takey thing, where we get Brown or Tatum, got to get rid of one. Do you fire Joe Mazzulla today? We can even go Hacksaw Hamilton. I want to talk sports with you, right? Or we can make up a nickname for something we saw. Or we could talk about the toughness of Jimmy Butler. But I don't know. I can't get over the fact that it was a Game 7. It was the chance to have the greatest comeback or collapse in the history of the sport. And turns out the Heat were the better team at the start of the game and the better team at the end of the game. They got out to a lead and for the most part kept the Celtics at bay. And then the last 5 or 6 minutes was just like, let's just go. Like, have you ever been in adult league games do this, and now youth games do this as well, where there's like a minute left and it gets really bad and like, hey, you guys want to call it? You good? Like, we easily could have done that with about 3 minutes left, right? But the Celtics got rolled last night, and the Heat avoided a collapse. And again, there's a lot of great sports stuff, right? Like all the TNT guys, the Inside the NBA guys can talk about was, man, it is loud in here. Man, it is hype in here. And there is nothing in the world that compares to winning on the road in that environment. And the way they did it was perfection. Took the crowd completely out of the game in the first quarter. It was like 28-15. You guys scored 15 points in the first quarter. 15 points? Oh, I almost wanted to be the manager from Bull Durham and call them lollygaggers and throw baseball bats at them because 15 points! But in a very selfish way, I was like, dude, that was my Monday, Memorial Day. I had other things I could do, but, I was doing this show. I wanted to sound like I knew what I was talking about. I mean, a little bit more so than I usually do. And, the people who invited me over to watch the game, there's always the questions from people who don't watch sports. And just like, I can't do that tonight. I can't do that. I just want to watch the game. I just want to watch the game. And then I'm watching the game like, yeah, I set aside like 3 hours of my life that I would probably like back. You ever had one of those? And I'm guessing there's somebody driving going, yeah, Gottlieb, I set aside 3 hours listening to Cowherd, and I got you this morning. I'm fully well aware. I've been a fill-in guy forever, dude. I got it. But I'm trying to think of the last. My late father loved Weekend at Bernie's. Weekend at Bernie's was a movie built really around one joke, where a guy was dead, only he had a sweet beach house, and in an effort to live that beach house lifestyle, 2 young guys kept him quasi alive, and made him wave to people with sunglasses on for the entire movie, and no one was the wiser. And for whatever reason, my dad found the entire thing hilarious. And I will never forget when Weekend at Bernie's 2 came out, he was so excited that he made my entire youth basketball team like, we're going to see Weekend at Bernie's 2. And we got there, we're like, okay, it was clever the first time. An entire sequel out of the same joke, not funny. But I kind of knew that was coming. That was like a train scheduled. It's already a sequel. It's a one-joke movie. Even at that age, I knew. Trying to think of the last time I had that sort of letdown. Because again, this was not just, hey, it's a big game. It's, you could be watching history. Plus, there is something to, and I thought TNT did a really good job of showing some of these historical moments, Celtic moments, Heat moments, Game 7 moments. Then you see the parquet floor, which is, again, why I wouldn't go to a party or a cookout, because inevitably there'd be a question of why does the Boston floor look different? And you're like, and I know most of you who are, I would say 98% of the people listening to the Herd are like, are you kidding me? But the truth is, there are people, many of them, in fact, that have no idea about Boston's parquet floor. And oh yeah, by the way, like if we really have to, it's merely only exists because of historical significance. That's it. There is no reason to have a parquet floor at this point in time in history. But we do. So I avoided that discussion. I avoided what's the name of the Boston coach? Why is he so young? Didn't they have another coach? What happened to him? Boy, I really used to like watching the Heat when they had Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Do you remember when they won a champion? Like just all the other conversations. I just want to watch the game. That game was not fun. Not fun. And by the way, I said this yesterday. I've said it since the Denver Nuggets complained time and again, and others complained time and again about, when the Lakers lost and the Nuggets won, why do we talk about the Lakers? Here's why. Because that's actually what we do in sports. We have a whole other series to talk about the Heat, but we got like a day and a half to talk about the Celtics, to pick at the bones like vultures of the Celtics. Here's Joe Mazzulla, first-year head coach, on coaching his players this season.
It's one of the best locker rooms I've been a part of. The guys cared, and they gave it everything they had. It's the most important thing to take from this. Obviously, we didn't achieve our goal. We didn't win. We failed in that regard, but it's not because the guys didn't have a sense of togetherness, character, and just who they are as people.
Here's Jaylen Brown accepting responsibility for the loss.
Just a terrible game when my team needed me most. Like JT hurt his ankle, first play of the game. You could see it like swelling up on him, and he couldn't move out there. It was tough for him, and my team turned to me to make plays and et cetera. And I came up short. I failed. I expected to win today and move on. That's what my focus was on. That's what my focus has been on. We failed. I failed. And it's hard to think about anything else right now.
Here's Jason Tatum on that ankle injury.
It was just frustrating that I was kind of like a shell of myself. It's tough to move. It was just frustrating, especially, on the first play.
I mean, talk about all the things that could go wrong, right? All the things that could go wrong. Jason Tatum, right around the rim, first play of the game, rolls his ankle. And then you're like, he'd get a dunk. You're like, he's okay. And then you see him try and defend somebody like, he's a swinging gate. And as I've tried to explain to people, basketball has changed. It's not that Isaiah Thomas wasn't heroic playing for the Pistons against the Lakers with a bad ankle, but the way in which the sport works now, it's really hard to hide anybody defensively. It just is. They find you, especially when you're playing a team that has the versatility of the Heat. But that's how basketball teams are built now. Everybody's got to be able to handle, dribble, pass, shoot, guard out in the perimeter, multiple guys, and they will find you. And all they did was, kind of like the Lakers with Steph Curry, let's just attack Jason Tatum as much as we can. And he can't stop anybody, so then somebody else helps, and then they find the open guy, and they make a shot. That's really kind of, in a nutshell, there's other things to be said, and in all honesty, the Celtics offense was, or lack thereof, was the biggest culprit in their demise. But let's be honest, Jason Tatum became a minus defender because he couldn't consistently move to contain the ball. I like that Jaylen Brown accepted all the blame. He had 8 turnovers. You can't win when one of your best players has 8 turnovers. But part of that is the position in which he was put in, where those turnovers were created. And he is not a traditional ball handler. He's not. Like, we do this, positionless basketball. Yes and no. He's not really a 2. He's definitely not a 1, yet here he is handling the ball against the zone and trying to make reads, and that's not really who he is. Some of that is because of injury. Some of that is because of coaching. Put in a position in which it was less than optimal. But that was an embarrassing performance by the Celtics. And the goodwill that was earned by coming from 3 games to none down was mostly lost last night. And I got to say, like, I know there's parts of a pregame speech we didn't see, but in the very last sentence of your pregame speech in Game 7 of an Eastern Conference Finals when you're playing at home, let's go have, guys, most important thing is to have some fun. Did the Celtics get juice boxes afterwards? Did they run through the tunnel? Got to tell you, the tunnel is kind of cool. But not cool when you get obliterated at home. And look, I love Mazzulla's disposition. Right? It's in many ways obvious why Brad Stevens, who I consider to be an absolute brilliant human being and basketball mind, right? He's brilliant in many different phases of life, not just basketball, right? Where he's kind of stoic and you don't know what's going, right? But man, that left a lot to be desired. What'd coach say to you to get you fired up? Let's go have some fun. Having fun is the most important thing. Really? Really? Listen, guys, I understand we lost, but did you have fun today? Huh? You know what's really fun in sports? This is what I found, especially in Game 7s, but in hostile environments. You know what the most fun thing to do is? Kick the other team's ass. That's what's really fun. So I guess here's the question. Give me something in your life that was a letdown recently to the level of last night's game. Could be a date. Man, she looked good on the app. Then you show up and like, woof. You know, I got an early morning tomorrow. Could be, could be a car. Right? You finally get your dream car and you hop in and you're like, yeah, I don't know. Could be a lot of things. Could be a concert you went to. Man, I've been waiting all year, saved up, got in the pit, and then I just didn't like the vibe. Didn't like the set list. They weren't bringing it. Could be the movie Air. Some people are just like, I thought it was going to be good or better. Maybe it's interesting, but not great. And of course, we'll dissect and do the obit for the Boston Celtics. What do you do now? Because there's a parallel there in my mind to another NBA team that had multiple MVPs, actually 3 MVPs. And I'm very interested to see what the Celtics do next.